This is Zach Weiss, and this week I am joined by...
Zach Kazan.
Yes, two Zachs back at it again. It's A Week in Watches, episode 92, and as you can plainly see, we're not in the studio. It's a special episode. We're at Windup Watch Fair, New York City, 2024. It's been quite the show.
Yeah, it's been a crazy weekend. Just a lot of wonderful watch spotting, guests, watch brands, old and new, familiar faces, new brands to discover. It's been great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So this show, our biggest ever, biggest watch fair in the world. We're taking that claim for now. 140 brands. So at this Windup Watch Fair, there was a lot of new brands that we hadn't seen before. So for this edition of A Week in Watches, we tried to talk to 6 of those brands.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of new faces in this A Week in Watches and some familiar ones as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, we really tried to highlight some of the new interesting brands that are making their Windup debut because there's just so much cool stuff happening in the independent and micro brand watch space. We felt like it was important to highlight that this time.
Yeah, absolutely. There was too much to cover, but we tried to get a nice cross section. Let's head inside.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm joined by James Lambden of Analog Shift and Doxa. You brought both brands to the Windup Watch Fair, New York City, this weekend. Thanks so much for being here, James. It's really great to have you.
It's great to be here. It's great to sort of come full circle on years of working with you guys. And I think Zach and Blake were reminding me that we actually, I think, sponsored the opening night cocktail of the very first Windup Watch Fair back in, I don't know, back when it was all black and white.
Back in the olden days.
The old days.
Seriously.
But we haven't participated as a sponsor and a presenter and having our own booth in a long time. So we're glad to be here and join the community and all the fun.
It's really great to have Analog Shift here. The Analog Shift booth has been mobbed. Every time I come by to try to chat with you or members of your team, everyone is, it's just swamped with people. They're really interested in all of the vintage and pre-owned watches that you brought with you. Can you talk a little bit about some of the special pieces that you have here for sale and the people are interested in?
Sure. I think the cool thing about Analog Shift's assortment is that it's sort of the entirety of the history of the watch world. We sort of cut our teeth on the classic 60s, 70s chronographs, divers, and sport watches that so many of us started this hobby with, and we are still very much present for those sorts of styles. We've got lots of cool stuff ranging from Benrus alarms, bullet style. We've got some great vintage Seikos. We've got some vintage Doxa, and then we've supplemented that with sort of a collection of pre-owned contemporary watches, everything you can think of, again, from Seiko to Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet. We've got a selection of our certified pre-owned Accutrons that are factory certified in collaboration with Bulova. And then, as you mentioned, we are also representing Doxa on the new side with Watches of Switzerland, which is, I believe, certainly the first time Doxa has had a pop-up presence with you in New York. Yeah,
it's great to have Doxa here. Again, they're also incredibly popular. What are some of the new Doxa references that people have been really interested in?
It's interesting. The Sub 300 Carbon, which launched here in the United States, here in New York, when we had exclusivity with Watches of Switzerland, remains a very, very popular watch. The Sub 200T, which of course is the darling, well, everybody loves that thing, at 39 millimeters. We don't have enough to go around, so we've been taking orders, and those will be coming in over the next few weeks. That's been very, very popular.
Yeah.
And then the new left-handed model, I think, even though I have a few Doxas in my collection, I might be adding that one as well.
Yeah, the lefty one's cool. I'm left-handed. I wear my watch on my right wrist.
I'm
and
just
there's something
long-wristed.
Yeah. So we're heading into day 3. We just opened doors. The crowds are starting here. I'm curious, just your thoughts on the venue. You mentioned, the early days Chelsea Market. We're in a room right now, which is a small percentage of the total venue. It's like pretty close to the size of that Chelsea Market pop-up room that we had.
For sure.
Just like thoughts on the venue here, Center 415.
Well, first and foremost, this is a great find. This location, it's super convenient. There's been a line around the block every time I step out to go grab a coffee or meet with somebody for lunch. The line just gets longer. My understanding is that we've already had record attendance compared to any previous wind-up, so that's wildly impressive, and thank goodness you found this place. But I got to say, if you guys keep doing this at this scale, you're going to need a bigger boat.
Well, thank you so much, James. It's really a pleasure to chat with you. Congratulations on the success of Analog Shift and Doxa. We love seeing those brands here, and enjoy the rest of day 3 of the show.
Thank you so much. It's truly a pleasure and an honor to be participating with all of you here at Windup.
Hi everyone, I am here with Benjamin Briggs, the owner of Timor Watches. It's their first time at Windup Watch Fair, and their watches just really caught my eyes. The first time I had a chance to see them in person. There's a lot of really interesting aspects to them. So I wanted to talk here to Benjamin about the watches and the history of the brand.
Timor is one of the Dirty Dozen watches. That's kind of our main claim to fame. The brand itself is 100 years old, so it's 1923 it was established, and they actually made the ATP watch before the Dirty Dozen.
Okay.
And that was actually the first ever watch commissioned by British military.
Oh, wow.
And really the first watch that was taken seriously and became what field watches are now. But I've been running it and kind of the steward of the brand for the last 6 years.
That's fantastic, very interesting history. You revisited that first, but now you're kind of moving past that into modern
that's right.
terrain.
Yeah, so I wanted to do something that was continuation of that heritage and DNA, but something in a modern package. So early this year, we brought out our modern field, 100 meters, and this is a true field watch with a good military spec that is 100 meters of water resistance, DLC coating, all the kind of modern things you would expect out of a field watch, but with that heritage and DNA of those original military watches.
Yeah. And you stuck to like the 36.5, was it?
Yeah, 36 and a half. So that 36 and a half size was the original Dirty Dozen Timor watch. And we built all of our watches when we reissued exactly the same size to kind of honor that. And when we were looking at the modern field, we tried out 38s and 40s, and we found actually we kept going back to that 36 and a half size, which just wears really nicely for a field watch. You don't want something too big. It's not a dive. It's not, a dress. You want something that's a bit more understated. So we really like that 36 and a half.
Yeah, no, it's kind of an ideal size, but something that you did to then kind of extend that watch, and you have it on your wrist here. I mean, so can you explain? It's like a cage sort of a system.
Yeah, so it was. It actually came from. We produced these coffins to put our watches in after service.
Okay.
So we would 3D print this kind of like fitted coffin that would protect the watch on its way back.
Oh, cool.
And I had this crazy idea that maybe we could do something that stayed on the wrist that would still protect it even when you're wearing it, because I like to go hiking, I like to go outdoors. I've knocked watches off rocks and trees, and I thought, I wonder if there is something we can do. And that kind of has been a year and a half of development to build something that can take your everyday field watch into something that is much more heavy duty and it kind of fit for the extreme environments.
Yeah, it's very cool because obviously field watch is almost like the first tool watch, but like you're giving it, if you need it, that extra level of protection and armor. And it's not that much more expensive, correct? It's
it's another $150 on top.
Okay.
And then we've got plenty of colors, so you can also accessorize with bezels.
Yeah.
And the construction is really heavy duty, so it's a steel mid-core construction, and then it's a sandwich of plastic that adds a shock absorption level, so you can accessorize, change the colors of those.
Well, this is excellent. I really enjoyed seeing your watches at the show for the first time myself.
Thank you.
If people would like to find out more about Timor watches, where can they go?
TimorWatch.com is our website. Everything's on there, all the information.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Benjamin.
No problem. Thank you.
I'm here at the Windup Watch Fair in New York City, joined by Roy from Kuo. Kuo is a brand from Kyoto. You guys have come all the way from Japan to the Windup Watch Fair in New York City. Thanks so much for being here.
No problem. It's been a joy being here. We've been blown away by how great it has been.
This is your first Windup Watch Fair?
This is our first time out of the country for the brand, actually.
Oh, wow. That's great. That's wonderful. Thank you for joining us, making us your first visit outside Japan.
It's been great. We've been blown away by how much support we've had from Windup. It's been a great experience for us.
I'm really glad to hear that. Why don't you tell us and our viewers a little bit about the Kuo watch collection? What makes your brand distinctive?
So our brand came about when our founder, Kenji Uchimura, when he was in college, he did study abroad for a semester. He was in London. He saw some classic watches on sale in store windows, and he really fell in love with those designs. So when he came back to Japan and he was working for a watch company, he sort of wanted to bring those designs to the public. So around 2020, he started his own brand, Kuo Kyoto. From then, we've been making classically inspired designs. We hand make them all in Kyoto using Japanese-made movements from either Seiko or Citizen, and that's pretty much the brand.
They're really beautiful. I noticed just kind of looking at the table here, a lot of them are marked sold out.
So yeah, I think we might have underestimated how much stock we should have brought to the fair. We've been blown away by how many people have stopped by and how much we've been able to interact with our customers.
That's great to hear. I'm glad they're resonating with folks here at the fair. Is there one model in particular that you feel kind of like represents the Kuo brand or that people are really responding to here?
A really popular model for the brand has been our Royal Smith 90006. It's based off sort of classic dress watch designs, but we've sort of added a little bit of a modern touch to it. It uses a Miyota 9039 movement with a custom rotor and exhibition back to sort of show that off.
Yeah, looks great.
We have a waffle texture to the dial and loom on the hands and indexes. It also has a screw-down crown, so it's got a little bit stronger water resistance around 10 bar. It's been a very popular watch. It's a little bit on the smaller side, 35 millimeters, but since it's a little dress style, it fits for almost anyone.
It looks like it has like a vintage watch flavor to me, like in a really, really nice way.
One more model we're really excited about. It's our Sombrero 90 Tech 011. It is a sort of compressor style diver. The name's inspired by the Sombrero Galaxy, one of the most beautiful in the universe. It has a sort of linen texture finish to the dial, screw-down crowns, and eternal rotating bezel. We're really excited to bring this out, so it'll launch sometime next month. So we hope y'all are interested in the model.
Dial texture looks really great.
It's hard to catch on camera, but it looks great in real life.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the price range that we're talking about here
So
with the Kuo
Kuo's price range is from around $300 to around $900.
Okay.
Our cheapest model is a quartz, sort of classically designed small second watch. And our most expensive model is the Royal Smith 90010. It's sort of a classic triple calendar watch. It has either a panda finish on the dial or a just straight grainy finish with heat blued hands.
They look great. Really nice stuff, Roy. Thank you so much for showing us. Where can viewers find more information about your brand, either on Instagram or online?
Yes, sir. We have an Instagram, and we also have a website, kuotacen.com. So you can drop by there or visit us on Instagram at any time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Roy. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for dropping by.
Of course.
And now a quick word from our sponsor, Trafford Watch Co., with their new Touring GMT. Inspired by the resilience and energy of the modern touring band, the watch is a tribute to the connections we make through music. Their latest release measures in at 39 millimeters in diameter in a 3/16 stainless steel case, with both a soft Italian leather 20 millimeter strap and a 20 millimeter Perlon pass-through style strap included. This watch offers 10 ATM of water resistance, meaning it is ready to rock as hard as you are.
Hello, Mommy.
A Miyota 9075 movement inside maintains a power reserve of 42 hours. The Touring GMT comes in 3 colorways, each inspired by a famous music venue in the United States. The Los Angeles Troubadour venue is reflected in a white dial with a 2-tone green AM and PM indicator ring for the yellow GMT pointer. The Bluebird in Nashville brings a deep blue dial with yellow and orange used smartly for numbers and hands. And finally, Austin's own Saxon Pub inspires a black dial with white indices and a black and white ring to contrast the teal hands and orange GMT pointer. Retailing at $8.99, check out the Touring GMT at TraffordWatchCo.com. That's TraffordWatchCo.com.
Hi everyone, I am here with Sohaib Magnum, the CEO and creative director of Bida, as well as the founder and lead designer and everything at Magnum Watches. Sohaib, thank you so much for joining me. I would love it if you could just tell us a little bit about your brands and your experience here.
So, my name is Sohaib. Thank you for having me, Zach. This is my first time in New York, and we're bringing 2 brands with us. So, Bida and Magnum. They're both relatively new brands. With one of them, I explore more traditional watchmaking, and then with the other, I explore what goes on here, so a more creative side of watchmaking.
The Eclipse watch, can you just tell us a little about the inspiration there? And I mean, it has a unique time display as well. Just you could go into it in a little detail.
So, I love to inject some creativity in watches, wherever they are, and for this brand or that brand. For eclipse, as the name implies, we use the phenomenon of an eclipse, so basically hiding most of the dial behind the metal shield that we call it on top of the watch, and only showing the necessary information to the wearer. And it's also accessible at $2,000 more or less. So we're happy to be able to bring such a unique display of time to more people.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, and it's also a good lead into your personal brand where you are really, focused on sculptural designs, exotic time display. So can you tell a little bit just like the overview, like how you got that brand up and running, and then a little bit more about the Noor design? It'd be great.
So the start with Magnum was very slow, very gradual. We call them forms, so forms of telling time, and Noor being form 5. I call them forms because each one has a different story, a different ethos behind it, a different way of thinking. That allows me to be as creative as I possibly can each time without having to continue from where I ended up with the previous model.
Right.
So with Noor is an Arabic word. It means light, and the whole watch is inspired by pop-up headlights in old cars because I was a car lover before I was a watch lover. So I always like to inspire from that automotive word.
Okay, fantastic. And so this watch, the Noor, has like a transformative element, as you said. You push a button, it pops up like those lights.
Yeah.
But now that you said that, I get it. That is a great reference. The development of that, like how long did that take? How did you figure that out?
So in 2020, when everyone was scrolling through Instagram, me as well, I found a video of a compilation of pop-up headlights in cars, and I immediately thought, oh, that would be really, really quite nice to have on a watch. But I didn't think that I'm going to start with it that soon. I shared it to my Instagram just because everyone does that. And then my father, who is not a watch aficionado by any means, he also said, you should make a watch out of that. And so I started back then in July of 2020.
Wow.
However, it proved to be a technically difficult watch to develop because you need it to be reliable in terms of popping up, but then you also don't want to affect the movement inside the watch with that action.
Right.
But we're very, very happy with the result that we finally got.
Okay. It's fantastic, and as I recall, those pop-up headlights were also kind of problematic, so maybe you could have solved to design a better pop-up headlight.
They were driven out of the industry for a reason, but
for sure.
Maybe this will bring them back. I don't know. We'll see.
we could hope so.
I hope so too.
So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you had a great experience at Windup Watch Fair, and hopefully we'll see you at the next fair.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm here with Nusema from Boosie Watch, a really great new independent watch brand with some uncommonly beautiful dials. Nusema, thank you so much for being here at Windup Watch Fair.
Thank you, Zach. I'm really excited to be there. So that's my first watch fair ever in US. And I'm the founder. My name is Nusema. And I was born in the watchmaking area in France, and I wanted to make our time more poetic with my first collection of watches. So it's all about bringing some poetry in this watchmaking industry. We're playing with the code, like the texture dial, the book when you can find your watches, and it's all numbered and unisex. I'm very happy to be there.
Watches are very beautiful. You mentioned the dial. The dials have this beautiful texture to them. Where'd you come up with the idea for that?
So actually, the dial is like the face of the watches. So I wanted, like when you look at the watch, something caught your eyes. So I imagined this kind of texture dial because I love the paper, especially the Mitsumata from the Japanese paper. So it took 9 months to get this shape. But I wanted to play with that, and also with the marker at the 6, 9, 12, and 3 that recall the nib of the fountain pen. So it's small detail that people appreciate when you really take your time to look at the watch. But yeah,
it's a very cool, cohesive design. It's really well thought out. I wanted to really highlight also the collaboration that you did with Sakon.
Of course.
That's been a very popular watch. Tell us a little bit about how that came to be.
This collaboration, I'm really happy to introduce it to people there, because a lot of people, they came directly to my stand to see the piece. So this is a special collaboration with this French artist. So he put like an inkjet on the dial, because for him, inspiration about the poetry was more about the bloating spot and something about the dark side of the poetry. So he just added this incut on the paper dial that people like it, and at the back his definition of the poetry that we can see directly.
Yeah, it came out great. I'm glad it's being received well here. It's been quite a popular watch. I see it pop up on social media quite frequently. It's kind of like a bit of a viral sensation, I think. What's the price point on these watches?
So it's 1,200. So for the people who came to the booth, we give them 10% during the watch fair. And something also I want to say about the collaboration with Second. It was all sold out when we launched it with Second, but we put aside few pieces just for the Windup because it's the first watch fair here in US. So 2 people bought them yesterday, and we still have 1 piece here. It's 1,600.
Great.
For this space.
Where can folks find out more about your brand, either online or on Instagram? Where can we find more about Bussy?
So my Instagram is Bussy Paris Watches, and with the point between the words. And my website is bussyparis.com.
Great. Well, Luciana, thank you so much for taking some time to take us through your brand and show us the watches. They're really quite beautiful in person, and it's such a cool concept. So thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Thank you for this kind interview.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am here now with Lawrence de Rijke, the founder of de Rijke & Co. Watches, a very fascinating brand that I actually reviewed a watch of 2 or 3 years ago. Has a very unique case construction, and this year at the fair they're showing a really beautiful dial that has I think taken a lot of people by surprise. So I would love to find out more about the brand, how you founded it, your ideas, and a little bit about the process of this new watch.
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me. It's a really nice, really good show. We really appreciate it, and it's really nice. So, about the brand, like one of the first things we did is a rotating case, because I developed kind of a driver watch. So you can tilt the dial on an angle, but you can also wear it as a normal watch. That was the first edition I did, was the Amalfi series, named after the Amalfi Coast, which for me was a dream destination to ride to with my car or with my motorcycle. And from this series, we evolved this year to an enameled series. And this is evolving around, or this is around the Amalfi Coast. And we have a theme, the land, the sea and the air, with a famous Italian boat on the water, a plane in the sky, and the car on the land, the Italian car. These are hand enameled dials, and they are largely made in-house. And we work together with an enameler from the UK who does the enameling for us. We do the pet printing, and we apply the feet, and then assembly, of course. And next to that, some people, or most people, know me now for the Miffy watches. We did a collaboration with Miffy, and this was a huge success. And we have a few new versions coming this November, and this will be the last we are doing.
So with the cloisonné enamel dials, that's a process that is typically only available in very high-end watches, and the watch you're making its price around $3,700, so a much more accessible version of this. Can you just tell us a little bit about the process of making those dials? How many are made, and
sure. It's a really limited edition. It's 3 times 25, so 25 pieces per version. Basically, the process is, one of the first steps is that we make the base dial from 925 silver. We start with a square plate, we turn it, we drill a hole, and then we have a fiber laser in our workshop, and we etch away all the material. Like in the old days, they used to carve it out, or they used the wiring, but we chose for a more modern technique, and this makes it also a bit more accessible, because there's a bit less handwork in that sense. But of course, still the enameling. This guy, the enamel, normally it's just a powder. It's glass basically. You make it wet, and then with a tiny brush, you apply it like painting an artwork. and he has to fill all the tiny gaps. So if you see on the car, we have the headlines, and he has to fill the headlights with a small tiny brush, and then he fires it, and he has to repeat this process like 10 times till it's all filled up, and then the final finishing, final polishing on top of that.
Yep.
So it's a really intensive and really labor intensive process, and it takes a lot of knowledge. In the beginning, I tried to do it myself. I did I think like 100 trials, but I realized soon enough that the enameling it had to be done by specialists. So we are happy to collaborate with a guy from the UK. It's a family-owned company, and they've been doing this for 2 generations now. And it's super fascinating, super nice. Yep.
The dials are really striking in person. They have like a really remarkable depth to them and sort of a texture to the color. It's really great to see them in person for me.
So you really have to see them in real life to understand it.
But if you're into watches and you want to see 140 plus watch brands, think about October next year, 2025. We'll be sure to remind you then.